Yep.
Hi everyone, a very good evening to all of you. I'm Malcolm from AA1 Australia PTE IELTS and NATI coaching, Australia's #1 choice for all these coaching services. And with me I have Sam, who is also one of our very experienced tutors and has a score of 90 each in PTE. Hi Sam, how are you doing today?
Good sir, how are you?
I'm fine. Yeah. So guys, we train in multiple languages for this test. Sam is an expert in English, Hindi and Punjabi as well, because we do have a lot of students who prefer getting the instructions from us in Punjabi as well. We also offer online as well as face-to-face classes in Melbourne CBD. Online classes obviously you can take from anywhere in Australia, but if you're looking for face-to-face, especially one-on-one coaching and one-on-one feedback for the tasks in which you're lacking, you can definitely get in touch with us, because some of you might be really good at your speaking, but maybe you are missing out on your reading or listening or writing scores by a very narrow margin. So we can definitely help you, fill in those very valuable points and get you your help with your permanent residency visa. So coming back to today's series, Sam, would you like to tell the audience what this particular series, what this initiative is all about?
Yeah, sure. So this is the PTE series in which we will discuss all of the 20 tasks that are in PTE. Okay, we'll start from task 1, which is read aloud in speaking, and we'll end with task 8 of PTE listening, which is write from dictation. Okay. So we will discuss all of these tasks in English, Hindi and Punjabi and Gujarati, right? So that you can get a better idea of how, what PTE actually is. And we'll discuss the do's and don'ts, and we'll just have a chat. Simple.
Cool. So Sam, you have been obviously taking all these one-on-one classes since quite some time now. So before we start with today's session, like which tasks in speaking in general are the ones where people think that they are good at, but actually they need some feedback? So which would you, according to you, would be the most difficult task at the top of the list?
Well, obviously the task that gives you the most marks is repeat sentence.
Right.
Okay, where students have a lot of problem. Okay, because it is basically about your memory and your confidence.
Right.
So even if you heard everything and you remember everything, the basic thing in speaking is your fluency.
Right.
Yeah, so what students do is if they have a good memory, they can remember it properly, but they don't get that fluency.
Right.
So that is where they lack.
Right.
Yeah.
Now we'll start with this session, which is mainly on our read aloud. So read aloud is definitely one of the most important tasks in speaking.
Yeah.
So with read aloud, can you explain to the listeners like how will the software grade them, and what is the points distribution, content, fluency and pronunciation as well?
Sure. So in read aloud you get marks for speaking and reading, obviously, right? You will have a paragraph in front of you and you will have to read it. You will get approximately 35 seconds to prepare, and after the 35 seconds are up, you will hear a beep. Then you have to start speaking. Okay. You will get, let's say, 5 marks in content, which is your whole paragraph, 5 marks in fluency and 5 marks in pronunciation. Okay. Now before I go further, I'll just put an end to the misconception that has been going around a lot, and we have been getting a lot of texts, a lot of comments on our videos. Does the one-line strategy work? Right? All of you might have heard, you would have heard about the one-line strategy. So I actually cleared this up a lot of times, so I'll do it once more. One-line strategy does not work at all. Okay, let's say, can I speak in Hindi?
Yeah, sure. You can do a mix of both.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so लॉजिक से सोचते हैं, आपके पास पैराग्राफ है, पैराग्राफ में आपको, जैसे मैंने बोला कि 5 नंबर मिलते हैं आपको कंटेंट के, जो होता है आपका रीडिंग, 10 नंबर मिलते हैं आपको स्पीकिंग के. ओके, लेट्स से आपने एक लाइन बोली फ्लुएंटली, कॉन्फिडेंटली, नेचुरली, विदाउट एनी एक्सेंट. हाँ भाई, बहुत अच्छी बोली स्पीकिंग के, चलो ना आपको नंबर मिल गए, मानते हैं मिल गए. रीडिंग के कहाँ से आएंगे? आप अगर पूरा पढ़ोगे ही नहीं, आपके 40 वर्ड्स हैं फॉर एग्जांपल, आप 40 में से अगर 10 वर्ड बोल दिए एक लाइन में, बाई के 30 वर्ड तो नंबर मिलेंगे नहीं. अल्टीमेटली यू आर नॉट गेटिंग मार्क्स. ओके, अगर आप स्पीकिंग के नंबर देखकर खुश हो जाते हो, एंड आई एम सेइंग इफ यू गेट मार्क्स, एंड दैट इज अ बिग इफ, right? But you're not getting marks in reading, so that's that.
Right, so for those of you, I'll just repeat in English as well. So generally we get a total of 15 points for every read aloud, 5 points for fluency, 5 points for pronunciation, and 5 points for your content. So in general, on YouTube and social media, there's a very popular strategy called the one-line read aloud strategy, which suggests that if you just read any one full sentence in read aloud, then you can still get a score which is a full score in speaking and reading. But as Sam dismissed that strategy, even let's assume that you get full marks in speaking, which obviously you can if you're very fluent even with a single sentence, the reading content score, which comes from the actual sentences and the words which you read, would definitely be low. So it is highly not recommended to follow it in the actual exam. Even if some PT guru or some PT tutor says that it works, maybe it works for them because they are maybe perfect in all the reading tasks in the reading section as well. So the software will, not take too much consideration on just the single sentence, right? And they may still end up getting 90 each. But for you students who are spending your hard-earned money on these very expensive tests of English, please think if it's going to help you or not. Don't just try it for the sake of trying it. It's not going to help a lot as well. Now coming to the important task of read aloud, Sam, generally how many questions will people get in read aloud?
So generally you'll get 3 to 4 questions for read aloud, right? And the average word count would be 40 to 60 words.
Right, and for you viewers, you would also add that in every question of read aloud, before you have to start your answer, the software will give you around 30 to 35 seconds to prepare yourself mentally so that you can read that passage. Now Sam, another very common doubt which a lot of people have is, in the time before the beep sound, should they prepare the passage in their mind or should they actually read aloud? What is recommended?
Okay, I would actually prefer reading it aloud, right? Because when you say things in your mind, that is very different from when you actually speak, right? So you can think fast,
correct,
but you cannot speak in that same pace, on that same pace actually.
Yes.
Right. So it's better in the 35 seconds that you get, you actually read it out loud.
Yes, and also I've got one more suggestion why we should read it aloud, is because when the test starts, it's a very natural tendency that as humans we may be nervous, we may be anxious. And the second problem is that everybody in the test center around us will be speaking at the same time. So it's very noisy, it can be very chaotic as well. So when you speak aloud, you hear your own voice back, and that will give you a great confidence boost. So that is also one of the main reasons why we should read aloud in the preparation time before the beep sound. And in that time, Sam, one more question. Should students read aloud the entire passage, or should they actually focus on the hard words which they see in the passage?
Yeah, that is actually a main concern because you only get 35 seconds, right? So what I suggest my students is focus on the big words, focus on the difficult words. Small words like is, am, are, was, were, has, have, had, you can easily read, right? Without even thinking about them, because they are pretty common, right? So focus on the big words, the words that are difficult to pronounce, okay? Then you try to pronounce them. You kind of divide them into different parts and try to pronounce every single part and then merge it all together and you have your pronunciation.
Correct. So I'll just give an example to add to it. So let's say there's a word called predilection. So many times when you read it fast, you might just say prediction instead of predilection. Yeah. So what you can do is, as Sam suggested, just break it up into 2 or 3 parts, like predilection or predilection, and then speak it 4 to 5 times non-stop, like predilection, 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 so that your brain and your tongue, everything is in sync, and your brain registers how those big words should be spoken.
Yeah.
Also, Sam, a lot of times people or tutors suggest that if you're not sure with big words, just skip the words. So do you think skipping is a good strategy, or should people try to mimic it? What should people do?
I think mimic is a better strategy, because if you're skipping the words, not sometimes, most of the times you will mess up your fluency, right? Because you'll automatically skip to the next word, which would be a little uncomfortable, right? Mimicking maintains that flow, and like Sir said, Fluency and pronunciation gives you around 10 marks out of 15, right? So mimicking makes establishes that flow correctly, right? And you do not stop.
Oh yes, absolutely.
And also,
sorry, please continue.
And also if you are pronouncing the words correctly, the system becomes a bit lenient, and you might get marks for that word.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Also, another important thing is sometimes if there are words given in brackets, so students have this question: should we read those words? Should we skip those words? What should we do?
I think you should read those words.
Definitely, right? We should read those words, right?
Because it's basically your reading. If you skip those words, let's say there is a sentence, there are 10 words in brackets, right? If it's like an example or something, right? If you skip those words, reading marks gone.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Also, in these 5 or 4 questions that you get in Read Aloud, please remember, guys, this is the first task in the exam, so it's going to set the momentum for the remaining part of the test. So mentally, you need to be really strong. You should not be distracted at all. And the best way to get used to such a situation is to expect it to happen. By it, I mean expect the test room to be very noisy. And like as we know the common saying how it goes, prevention is better than cure, or precaution is better than cure. So what I'm suggesting or hinting here is, when you practice at home, please practice with some noise on in your background. Like you can keep some TV on or some YouTube channel on, so that your brain anticipates that type of disturbance in the actual examination also.
I'll actually add to it.
Sure.
Okay. So let's assume, ठीक है, कि PT का लेवल है अभी यहाँ पे. अगर आप कोचिंग ले रहे हो, आपका लेवल है यहाँ पे. So अगर आपको इस लेवल पर आना है, तो आपको इस लेवल पर प्रैक्टिस करनी पड़ेगी.
करेक्ट.
ताकि उसका एवरेज यहाँ तक आए. So मैं अपने स्टूडेंट्स को क्या कहता हूँ कि जब आप प्रैक्टिस करते हो, जितनी ज़्यादा आप चीज़ें अपने लिए मुश्किल करोगे उतना बेटर है. ठीक है. पीसी को थोड़ा दूर रखो. लेट्स से कितना वो आपका वॉइस कैच करता. बैकग्राउंड नॉइज रखो, पूरे टेस्ट में ही रखो. नॉट जस्ट स्पीकिंग, सारे रखो. लेट्स से आपकी कॉन्सेंट्रेशन कितनी बनती है, राइट? सो द मोर यू मेक थिंग्स डिफिकल्ट फॉर योर सेल्फ, द बेटर इट इज फॉर यू इन द रियल एग्जाम. क्योंकि प्रैक्टिस में अगर 0 भी आएंगे कोई चक्कर नहीं, दोबारा करो. 1 आएगा फिर करो, धीरे धीरे बेटर होगा. You know your mistakes, you correct your mistakes, you get better. Right. But in the exam, there is no margin for error. Okay, do not experiment these things in the exam. Practice में जो experiment करना करो, चाहे 0 आता है खुशी से 0 लेके आओ. But exam में number चाहिए.
Right. The other thing is sometimes you also get numbers. So some people ask like, how should you read numbers? So I'll just add to that also. Yeah. So let's say there's a year like 2019. So it's best that you say, instead of saying 2019, just say it as you would in your natural day-to-day life, like 2019. If it's 1982, you just say 1982. Yeah. And if there are words given in short forms, this is another very important thing, like IE or EG, for example. You can just say IE, or you can also say that is. Yeah. Similarly for EG, you can say EG, you can also say for example, because PTE accepts all acceptable forms of spoken English or colloquial English as well. As far as the accent is clear, it's fine. From accent, I remember a very important question, Sam. A lot of people have a natural accent. Some people develop an accent because they come here at an early young age. Yeah. So do you think that you necessarily have to speak with an accent to get a good score in speaking?
No. Please do not use accents. Do not use made-up accents. If it comes naturally, good. But okay, if you are a native Hindi speaker, right? When you fill your exam, if most of you might have given your exam before, when you fill up the form for your exam, when you register for your exam, they ask you which language do you speak at home, what's your native tongue.
Yes.
Right? If in that you select Hindi, the system, the AI will judge you as a normal native Hindi speaker, and if you use accent, then it gets messed up, right? So do not use accents. I always say speak naturally. Even if there is a little Indian accent, let's say, it's good, it's fine, because the system is designed in that way only.
Correct. Also, regarding the speed of speaking, a lot of people think that you just have to speak really fast to get a good score. Yeah. So what's your take on that?
Okay, fluency and speed are not the same thing. Get this correct. Fluency and speed are not the same thing. Okay, let's say today the weather in Melbourne is very good. That is fluency because I was speaking clearly as well, right? But if I say today the weather in Melbourne is pretty good, that is also fluency because I'm speaking naturally, I'm speaking confidently. So fluency is just one part of your speech. The other main part is your pronunciation. So अगर आप तेज बोल रहे हो, if you're speaking fast but you're not speaking clearly, then it doesn't matter. आप चाहे जितना मर्जी तेज बोलो, it doesn't matter how fast you speak, but it matters how naturally and how confidently and how clearly you speak. Sorry.
Right. So as Sam said, don't speak too fast. Mainly focus on speaking clearly the way we are speaking right now. Also, there is one more misconception, or maybe a lack of clarity about the punctuation marks. For example, a comma, a full stop, or a semicolon.
Yeah.
So should students pause at each and every comma which they see in the passage?
Actually, no. So in the passage, there are, let's say, two kind of commas. Okay. If you come across a line with examples, so
Right.
this comma, this comma, this. If you say A, comma, B, comma, C, then there are a lot of pauses. Okay. So, and that actually messes up your fluency. Okay. So when there are commas such as examples or comma in the start of the sentence, like moreover, comma, however, comma, you do not stop. Okay. If there are commas that connects two sentences, or if there are commas before the connector, for example, while he was an intelligent student, comma, he did not pass the exam. So while he was an intelligent student, he did not pass the exam. You give a little mini pause.
Correct. So sometimes even if there is no comma in the passage, but based on the meaning and the context of the sentence, if you think a pause is required, take a pause. One way to think about this situation is imagine yourself to be a news reader. So not necessarily with all the accents and all the styles of speaking, but still, how would you want a news reader to present the news so that you are able to understand the meaning of the passage? Same thing PTE wants, the software wants. So mainly it's all about chunking. Chunking is a method of speaking where you chunk phrases into understandable groups of small, maybe 3 to 4 words, or maybe sometimes more words, and then take appropriate pauses only when required. Another important thing, Sam, a lot of people try to speak as if they are trying to impress the software.
Yeah.
By what I mean is they automatically start to stress on the words, which is not at all required.
Yeah.
Maybe in the beginning of a sentence, or when they approach a full stop, their voice goes down. When they start, their voice goes up. So it's more like a wave.
Yeah.
So do you think that's a good way to speak?
I think that question actually answers itself, right? So if it's a wave, like we said, you have to speak naturally. So naturally is in a straight line.
Correct.
If it's a wave, it's going up and down, so your pitch and your tone is like not consistent, right? So automatically the AI gets confused.
Right.
And if the AI gets confused, your scores get messed up.
Correct.
So you actually have to speak in a consistent tone, a consistent pitch.
Right. So the moral of the story is, whatever is written, even in the PTE guideline or whatever anybody tells you, please remember that most of us are non-native speakers. We are not native speakers like Americans or Australians by birth. Neither are we British speakers most of the times. We are mainly from India or the Indian subcontinent or other countries in Asia or Latin America, so on and so forth. And pardon me if I missed any countries, but try not to stress on the words. Try to speak with a steady voice, steady pitch. That's the main thing.
Let me give an example, okay? Because people understand better with example. अगर मैं आपसे नॉर्मल कॉन्वर्सेशन में बात कर रहा हूँ, ओके? अगर तो मैं कहूँ हाँ यार दिन बहुत अच्छा था, मैंने ये किया, मैंने ये किया, मैंने ये किया, it sounds natural, right? It is natural. अगर मैं बोलूँ यार दिन बहुत ही अच्छा था, मैंने ना ये किया, फिर मैंने ये किया, फिर ये हो गया, that seems weird. That actually seems weird. तो अगर बंदे को weird लग रहा, सिस्टम तो फिर भी कम intelligent है हमसे,
True.
right? So that's that.
Right. The other thing, very important thing, like the don'ts and read aloud are: don't hesitate, means don't do or don't start thinking at the wrong time, because the fluency goes down and the score immediately goes down. There are something which are a complete no-no. The other thing is, if you by mistake miss any word, which means if by mistake you omitted a word, don't stop your flow and don't repeat the word, please. Don't do that. The third strict no is if you mispronounce a word, don't stop and don't correct yourself. What is done is done. I always give this example that is more like a bullet which has left the gun.
Yeah.
It can't go or enter the bullet, the gun again, right? It's gone. So basically, what is done is done.
Feel free to experiment.
Yeah.
Actually, don't experiment. Yeah.
Yes. So these are very important things. Now, what we'll do for you viewers? Yes, Sam, you want to add something?
One thing that a lot of students ask me is how to improve our pronunciation. Right? Because fluency, when you read stuff, your reading speed increases. Right?
Yes.
But one main thing is how to improve your pronunciation. Right? So one thing that we tell our students is the more you open up your mouth, the better your pronunciation is. So if you might have noticed, when we are speaking or when we are just conversing or just having a normal chat, we usually open up our mouth. We don't just murmur.
That's
right?
right.
So one thing that you can do is actually try to open up your mouth a bit more, and that will improve your pronunciation.
Definitely.
Another thing is that you might have seen a lot of actors or stage performers do. When they go on stage, they do something called vocal exercises, right?
Correct.
One of those vocal exercises is called tongue twisters. Hindi में बोलूँ तो खड़क सिंह के खड़कने से खड़कती हैं खिड़कियाँ. That stuff, right? So there are a lot of tongue twisters in English as well, right? So they are funny, but they do actually work. I have had lots of students who have improved their pronunciation using tongue twisters.
Right, like so, a lot of people, that's a good example you gave. For example, a lot of people I've seen, like we have seen from parts of India, parts of Nepal especially, who have a difficulty in speaking sir and sure words. For example, she sells seashells on a seashore, you know. So that's like sir and sure a lot of times together. That's more like an alliteration, it's called, and like a part of speech in grammar, sorry. So try to read as many tongue twisters as you can. They are informative, they are funny, and they actually help us in improving as a very intuitive and a very helpful vocal exercise as well.
Yeah.
Sam, what do you think? Should we give them a demonstration of how a read aloud should be done? So Sam will give a demonstration, then I'll also give a demonstration. And for your sake, we will share the passage with you in the comment section. So I'll just paste it. I'll try to paste it over here. Okay, so you can see the comment now. That's been posted by me. And yeah, so Sam, whenever you are ready,
should I give the correct example or the wrong one?
First, you can give the wrong one and maybe then the correct one.
Yeah. Okay. So, certain types of methodology are more suitable for some research projects than others. For example, the use of questionnaires and surveys is more suitable for quantitative research, whereas interviews and focus groups are more often used for qualitative research purposes.
Now, before he says further, what I would like to say that he had really good clarity, excellent clarity, right? Every word was very clear which he spoke. But, now with a but, now you can continue.
But I actually took pauses at the wrong time. Okay, I stressed on the words, and in the very first sentence, I started at a very higher volume, and then I came back down. Right? So that the tone wasn't consistent, the volume wasn't consistent.
Right.
Yeah, and I think I actually took wrong pauses on the punctuation marks as well.
Right.
So that's that.
So now let's give them the correct demonstration then.
Okay. Certain types of methodology are more suitable for some research project than others. For example, the use of questionnaires and surveys is more suitable for quantitative research, whereas interviews and focus groups are more often used for qualitative research purposes. Now, the second sentence was a bit long and there were actually no punctuation marks. So like Malcolm so said, when you're speaking naturally, connectors are used to connect two sentences, right? So actually on connectors, you can take a mini pause like I did before and.
Right.
So that's that.
Right. And also one more thing, because it was most of the, like 99% of it was very clear, but I think here where it was written some research projects, I think I heard project, but as I said, you know, even if you make a mistake, knowingly or unknowingly, never stop, never correct it, because that's what the software will reward. But if you say for some research projects, then you're gone, you know, because that's an instant penalty, sort of a penalty, and the scores go down very quickly.
Also, also in PT there is something called bonus points, okay, they're actually not literal points, but like we said earlier, when you are performing well, even if you make mistakes, like 1 or 2 mistakes, the system becomes a bit more lenient, right? So you actually don't lose marks.
Right, so it's more like, if I can explain it, let's say Sam is the test taker, he makes 0 mistakes in read aloud. So somewhere the software registers that this person is really good at read aloud, which means the software thinks that this person deserves definitely a good score in speaking and reading, which means that even if, let's say, Sam makes 2 or 3 mistakes in reading blanks or reorder paragraphs, the software will compensate him for his good or great performance in read aloud somewhere down the line. So that is what he means by bonus points. So always give the software a chance to grant you bonus points, right? That's what you want, more marks. So that's what he meant. Now we'll do one more example. This sentence also, I think, is a very popular question. It's about Pluto. So I'll try to share it in as a comment. 1 second, please.
Let's have a sidebar while he's doing stuff. One debate that actually bothers me is Pluto a planet or not? Okay, let me know in the comments.
Yes, and guys, if you have any questions, even for any other task apart from read aloud, please feel free to comment and we'll try our best to answer it to the best of our ability. So we have posted the second passage over here. Now here you have got words like Pluto, and you've got something in brackets called IAU. So try to be very clear when you're pronouncing these short forms. You don't have to say IAU, you have to say IAU. The software needs to understand it very clearly, right? Similarly, you can see there's a comma after 2021. So whenever there's a comma right in the beginning of a sentence, there is no need to take a pause. Just take a normal pause or a full stop. And I'll just have a quick look and then I'll start. Yeah, I think it's a fairly simple passage. I'll just start now, yeah. Pluto was one of the 9 planets recognized to our solar system, but in 2021 it was relegated to the official status of dwarf planet by the International Astronomical Union IAU. It will bring into clear focus once more what is and what isn't meant by the term planet. So as you can see, very steady, very confident, and 1%, even if I would have made a mistake, I would have never stopped, never would have doubted my capacity. So just go on. Another very important question, Sam. As soon as you submit or finish your answer, should you wait for the blue bar to reach the end or should you click the next button immediately?
Yeah. So as soon as you're done in the speaking tasks, click next as soon as possible. I can stress it enough. Once you're done, you click next and then you click yes. The yes is just a confirmation.
Yes.
Confirmation that you want to move to the next question, right? So because okay, let's say the read aloud is for 40 seconds, right?
Okay.
More or less 40 seconds. You are finished within 20 seconds. The rest of the 20 seconds, the system will record, and the AI will actually score that thing.
Right.
And the AI will actually think that you are stuck and you do not know what to say, what else to say, right? So that actually will impact your fluency.
Definitely. So there is also another rule that if we don't speak anything for 3 seconds, the mic stops, and then again the fluency goes down, the speaking score is also affected. So guys, remember, click next immediately and click the yes button immediately and then start with the next one. Right?
One more thing, one very important thing. In every single task of PTE speaking, there is a beep once the timer once the preparation time is up. But in repeat sentence, no beep. Okay, so in repeat sentence, what a lot of students do, I'm sorry, I'm going away from the topic, which is read aloud, but still, in repeat sentence, there is no beep. So what many students do is, as soon as the recording is done, as soon as the recording has been played, they start speaking.
Right.
And most of their answer does not get recorded in the system, right? So please pay attention to the blue bar as well. Okay, there is a blue bar.
Yes.
Okay, which tells you that the recording is on, that your mic is on, and now you can speak. Right, so please pay attention to that blue bar.
Right. Another question which some of you might have in mind is some of you can actually or could actually have some breathing problems also, because it's human, right? We all have different issues, sometimes medical conditions. So what we would recommend is before the beep, you get about 30 to 35 seconds. Just before the beep, take a deep breath. So at least you can speak for the next 7 or 8 seconds without taking a breath if required. Also, like genuinely, I also have a problem of a sore throat very often because I speak a lot daily. In our profession, we need to speak a lot. So what I do is before every read aloud, I just gulp down my saliva and clear my throat like this. It actually helps me to, keep my voice smooth. So maybe you can try that also.
I actually am a Punjabi, so I don't have that problem.
That's
I usually speak at a very high volume, at a very high tone.
Good. Sam, what I think is we should take one more example where there is a comma multiple times, and maybe you can demonstrate that too.
Yeah.
I'll just share it. But before that, actually, we have a question from Gaurav, and Gaurav is saying, please give some more info about RL. RL is retail lecture.
Yeah.
So Sam, if you could.
So retail lecture is the 4th task in speaking.
Yeah.
So what happens in retail lecture is you hear a recording, you hear a lecture, and you note down keywords, and then you have to you either note down keywords or key phrases or sentences, whichever one is related to the main lecture,
Right.
and then you basically summarize it. Okay, basically it's like you heard the lecture and you're telling your friend what you heard. It's just basically that. You can use the templates, right, or you can make something up by yourself. Now, a main thing in retail lecture is the content does matter. You do get marks for listening as well. Okay, you get marks for speaking and for listening. So that means the content matters. Whatever you say matters. So most of the students do not get marks in retail lecture because they actually attempt it like describe image.
Right.
In describe image, whatever you say, the content does not matter much. So whatever you say, you do get marks. But retail lecture doesn't work that way. So one main tip is whatever you note down, whatever you speak, please make sure it is related to the topic. Okay?
Right. So I think one of the good note-taking techniques could be shorthand note-taking. And as Sam said, even for read aloud when you prepare, you can skip the words like on, for, of, a and the. Doesn't matter for content, especially in retail lecture. So when you take notes, try the chunking method again. Sam, can you give an example of chunking while you take notes in retail lecture?
So let's say they are talking about, let's say they're talking about pollution, right? This people was talking about pollution. And they say there are a lot of people are using cars as a means of transport,
Right.
which causes congestion on the roads or which causes traffic. So what I'll do is I'll just pick out people, traffic, not in that order actually. People, cars, traffic, and maybe cause if I cannot get what it means.
And maybe congestion.
Maybe congestion. Yeah, congestion. Sorry, congestion is the main one.
Yes.
So I actually swapped congestion with traffic. So
Right.
basically the basic sense of it, of what that sentence is. I will not pick out small words like the, right? Are,
Correct.
a reason, right? I will
Correct.
not pick a.
Correct. And also, like sometimes, I think people are really quick at taking notes. Some people can be really quick.
Yeah.
So what I recommend for those people is if you have more keywords, then definitely you can speak more keywords in your answer. Whichever template you follow, you don't follow, it doesn't matter much as long as you are fluent,
Yeah.
All templates are good, but sometimes templates have unnecessary words which don't add to the score at all. So you don't need to, or learn by heart very hard templates.
Yeah.
The other thing which we can add over here is if, I'll give a live example, like a real example. Let's say there's a retail lecture about, let's say a police car is chasing a thief's car at a speed of 40 kilometers per hour. Let's say we hear that sentence. So actually visualization is also a very good technique. For those of you who might have taken the NATI exam, even in NATI it helps. Same thing you can do over here. So if that sentence comes, maybe what we'll do is, or I myself would do is, just write POLCAR or just draw a square with 2 wheels and write POL so that I understand it's a police car. I'll draw an arrow and then a thief's car, TC, again with wheels. And I'll just write 40 kmph. And then looking at that script on my sheet, I'll remember from the lecture I can hear that the police car is chasing the thief's car at 40 kilometers per hour. So that is another good technique of visualization which can help you.
Yeah.
So sometimes keywords can also get you a full score in content. Sometimes full phrases can also get you full score in content. And Sam, what time should they speak for in retail lecture? Should they speak for full 40 seconds?
Okay. So basically it depends on your fluency. The ideal time that we ask our students to speak and that actually produces results is 20 to 30 seconds.
Right. So 30 seconds is a good time,
Yeah.
I think, in retail lecture. Definitely.
Because sometimes you might not have enough keywords to speak for the full 40 seconds and you might hesitate in speaking, right? So 30 seconds, we ask our students to use the template that we have,
Correct.
which actually works. Okay, so what they do is they use the template, and the template kind of fills a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Okay, but basically it's their content, right? Which 30 seconds is, I think, pretty easy to speak for 30 seconds with, even if you have less keywords, right? 30 seconds is enough.
I also have one more tip to add over there. Sometimes, let's say you don't have not even, let's say, 10 keywords. You have just 7 or 8 keywords, but minimum you must speak for at least half time or a bit more. That's around 20 to 25 seconds at least in describe, image and retail lecture both. So what you can do is, you can also repeat those keywords again. Instead of saying some lines, let's say some template lines, which are not going to help you,
Yeah.
just say the keywords again and don't rush when you say the keywords. Don't you think that's another problem? Like people rush too much?
One thing, when they're using the template, they are going at a very fast pace. Why? Because which is ready to tie.
It's a psychological thing that I know the template, I'll just rush it, I want to finish it.
They have crammed it. Right? But when they actually get to the good stuff, which is the keywords, right, जो आपको सही में number देंगे, then they stop.
Also, I've seen, like, let's say there are keywords like petrol, diesel and energy. So sometimes people are too fast. For example, the speaker is talking about petrol, diesel, energy. Now this speed is not going to help because the software is also a software, right? It won't understand. So instead of that, just be relaxed, open your mouth more, as Sam said. That's very important. So the speaker was talking about petrol, diesel and energy. So every word which we speak, myself and Sam, you'll be able to hear every consonant and every syllable of what we are speaking. Try to do the same thing. Don't stress. There's a difference between stressing. There's a difference between being clear and confident. So you want to be in the second part, be clear and confident.
अगर आप किसी से बात भी कर रहे हो, let's say आप इंग्लिश में नहीं बात कर रहे, आप हिंदी या पंजाबी में कर रहे हो, ठीक है? तो सेम चीज़ पेट्रोल, डीजल एंड एनर्जी, राइट? तो यार मेरे को तीन सोर्सेज बताओ एनर्जी के, राइट? एनर्जी को रिप्लेस करते हैं हाइड्रो से, ओके? सो भाई पेट्रोल, डीजल, हाइड्रो, अलग क्या समझ नहीं आई है, दोबारा बोली भाई, पेट्रोल, डीजल एंड हाइड्रो, दैट इज क्लियर, राइट? सो कुछ भी अगर आप बोलते हो कि यार पीटी है क्या, मेन थोड़े से लूप होल्स हैं ऑब्वियसली क्योंकि सिस्टम है, राइट?
राइट.
एंड बट बेसिकली इट इज योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज, राइट? तो जैसे आप अपनी नेटिव लैंग्वेज में बात करते हो, द वे यू टॉक इन योर नेटिव लैंग्वेज इज द सेम वे दैट यू शुड टॉक इन योर दैट यू शुड टॉक इन इंग्लिश, राइट? सो नेचुरली, ओके, डोंट स्ट्रेस टू मच. लोगों ने हवा बनाया हुआ है, ठीक है? डोंट स्ट्रेस टू मच. इट्स प्रीटी सिंपल टू गेट मार्क्स. It's very, very, very easy to score good marks. Okay.
Right. And Purnima has a question like, can you give an example of a phrase in retail lecture? So sure we can. So as I just said, let's say there's a passage about coffee production in Brazil in 1920. So instead of starting your answer like this, the speaker was talking about coffee production. If you know the phrase, like the topic sentence or the concluding sentence, just read the whole sentence in a calm manner, The speaker was talking about coffee production in 1920. Moreover, the speaker also mentioned how coffee production helped Brazilians to revive their economy. So, even if you can speak full phrases, but not very lengthy, not too short, then the software will definitely give you a very good score in content, because as Sam rightly mentioned, content matters a lot for your listening scores from retail lecture. Generally, you'll get one question maximum. These days, you could be 2, and you can easily expect 4 to 5 points in your listening score from those 1 or 2 questions. So why waste it? Just try your best to maximize your scores.
And Purnima, extra marks for correcting your mistake.
Yes, that's
an
really
example.
Good. That's really good.
That actually brings me to another point. So a lot of students ask us how many questions should we do in a day? Right. We actually have timetables. Malcolm sir has a video on YouTube. I have a video on YouTube. We'll post the link in the comments. Right, you can go and watch over there. But the timetable thing, right? I actually don't ask my students to study for like 4 hours because everyone have their limit, right?
Correct.
So what I actually tell my students is, it's not about how much you study, it's about how you study.
Absolutely.
So like
right.
Purnima corrected her mistake right after reading it once. If you correct your mistake after one question, right, you got it. Move on. Let's move on to the next task. But if let's say you are attempting 40 questions or 100 questions, right? If you're making the same mistake again and again, so if you're pronouncing don't as do not, and nobody is there to correct your mistake, and you actually don't realize that you're making the same mistake again and again, it doesn't matter if you read that same phrase 400 times.
True.
If you are making the same mistake again, you're still on 50, right? You're not on 60 or 70 or 80, right? So please make sure whatever mistakes you make, give it a look, okay? Revise it. Revision is another very important part of the exam. Revise every single answer, okay? Revise it. See that way have you made the mistake, correct your mistake, attempt it again. Make sure you don't make that same mistake again.
Period. That's it. Also, two important things I wanted to add is in retail lecture also, you might think like, what would happen if I keep on speaking and the time of 40 seconds is up? So nothing will happen. Whatever your last spoken word is, till that time the software will record your answer and it will accept it. So that's fine. Yeah. Another thing which Sam mentioned also reminded me to shed light on a very important thing, and that's about practice and revision and learning from the mistakes. Now, what we mean by that is, whenever you practice on our website, which is oneaustraliagroup.com, so it's pt.oneaustraliagroup.com for the portal. For those of you already registered, you definitely can access it. The link will be shared obviously in the comments soon. In every read aloud, once you submit your answer, you can actually check the pronunciation of words also which you have mispronounced. Also keep one more thing in mind, that whichever portal you use, whether it's our portal or XYZ, we won't be taking any names over here. Please understand that it's not going to be 100% accurate. It's always indicative scoring as per your sample answers which you have submitted, okay? So don't take it as the holy grail or the holy Bible that whatever the score I'm getting is the best score. Not necessarily true, Yeah. So if your score is too high, don't be too happy. If your score is too low on the system which you're using, don't be too sad. There are so many, apps, Indian, Chinese, XYZ, they are not very accurate, so no need to be stressed about the score which you're getting. What is more important is get your actual tutor whom you trust to have a look at your sample so that you get proper feedback. That's very important. Another few last things before we wind up today's session is always, and this point is not about accent, it's about pronunciation. So there are certain words which need to be spoken as if you would be a native speaker, and that's actually, there's a sound which your mouth makes when you say certain words. So that sound is called, or that word is called a plosive. So there are sounds like p, p, k. So I'll give a word like castle. So actually a lot of people say castle, but the actual pronunciation is something like a castle. So it's a castle, Similarly, the word pronunciation, a lot of people say pronunciation. So that's not the correct, it's pronunciation, P-R-O-N-U-N, like a nun. So very important to know which mistakes we are making again and again so that the scores in reading don't go down.
Yeah.
Yes.
And one thing that I would advise you to improve your overall PTE score is start reading articles. Right? Start reading articles,
like a very boring suggestion, but I think it's very helpful at the end of the day.
Okay, if you are like me, okay, not handsome, you cannot be, okay, just joking, please don't hate me in the comments. So if you are like me and like to get new information, right, so reading articles can actually be quite interesting, right, because you can actually know what's going around, right. So yeah, I'm not asking you to read big articles, I'm just asking you to read small articles, like it wouldn't even take 1 minute, right? But subconsciously your mind, you will actually train your brain. It's true because it rhymes. Train your brain, right? So subconsciously your brain adapts, right, to your normal lifestyle. So if you are reading, let's say 5 articles a day, your brain knows that today you're going to read 5 articles, right?
Correct. And there's a very popular website, the Scientific American.
Scientificamerican.com.
Scientificamerican.com. So that gives you a lot of articles. Sometimes you may also come across real exam questions,
Yeah.
which PT might pick up from the same website which you just mentioned. We'll also leave that link, especially in tasks like reading blanks, reading writing blanks, highlight incorrect words. Very high chances you might come across these passages.
Yeah.
Also, keep a habit of reading news from these apps if you don't want to buy the paper, like the Daily Mail or some Australian newspapers like the Guardian. You many times will come across real samples taken from real Australian culture and diversity, which come in the real test.
Or just go to Google News.
Yeah, Google News is pretty good. Just scroll through Australia related news.
Yeah.
That's going to be very, very helpful.
And when you come across new words,
Yeah.
right? If you know the meaning to them, good job.
Correct.
If you do not, go on Google, look them up. Okay, see what they mean, see how to use them in a sentence, use them in a different sentence, and voila, you have a new word in your vocabulary. Okay, so increase your vocabulary, add new words to your vocabulary, and definitely your PT score will improve. Because what happens in fill in the blanks is you sometimes come across words that you do not know the meaning to.
Correct.
Right? So the more words you know, actually, the more benefit you have. The more it benefits you. Sorry.
Absolutely true. So guys, thank you so much for joining us. I hope it has been a productive session for all of you.
Yeah.
And as we have started this series, every week we'll try our best to be live on 2 days, which will be Monday and Thursday. The time on both of these days will be around 5:15 p.m. Melbourne time. So wherever you are, you can definitely join. You can also share it with your friends. And if you have any questions, you can ask us. We are going to take all the 20 tasks of PT one by one, completely dissect them, give you the best possible templates, strategies, do's and don'ts of how to tackle these tasks and get the best possible score. Even if you don't join our classes, you can still, view these videos and they'll be pretty helpful. We can guarantee you that.
Yeah. And also we have free practice material on our website. We'll post the link in the comment. Okay. So you can go and see the prediction file. You can go and see grammar rules. Grammar rules is very, very, very helpful to a lot of students, right?
Absolutely.
And yeah, we also have mock test packages. Okay, so head over there and have a look.
And guys, so before we end, there are 2 more questions which have been asked. One is by Gaurav. So Gaurav is asking which tasks have negative marking. So as per the official PT guideline, Gaurav, there are only 3 tasks which are negative marking. One is multiple choice choose multiple answers, which is the second task in reading. Next is multiple choice choose multiple answers, which is the second task in listening. And the third is highlight incorrect words, which is the 7th or the second last task in listening. So officially only these 3 tasks have partial negative marking or negative marking.
Yeah.
So make sure that you are really accurate in these 3 tasks which you are clicking. Another question is asked by Mahesh. Mahesh is asking, could you please confirm whether we can completely depend on the prediction files, or do we need extra practice from multiple resources?
Okay. So pretty common question. Okay. Prediction file is for what, 500-600 pages?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
More or less 500-600 pages. Okay. Try to remember or try to even attempt every single question in prediction files. Okay, you will go mad. Okay, I sometimes make the prediction files and I do go mad. Okay, so actually prediction file just lets you know what level the PT is on right now. Okay, it is a great source of practice. Okay, it's a great source of practice, but please just don't only rely on prediction files, right?
Absolutely.
Because yeah, as prediction file, we do our research and then we add those questions in the prediction files, right, which have a high probability of coming in the exam, right? And but it's not 100% sure that those questions will come in the exam. So it's actually good to practice from various sources, right? It's actually good to have a second opinion, to have to practice on another website. We don't stop our students from practicing on other portals, okay? Because the more you practice, the better it is. We are here for your benefit, okay? We are here and we actually want you to pass your exam in the very first attempt, right? It doesn't matter if you use our portal, if you use XYZ. I'm not going to take names, I almost just did that, but yeah, okay? So practice through a range of sources, okay, if you can. But if you want if you are a student with us, you already know that we have 7,000 plus questions on our portal only. Okay, and 7,000 plus questions are not like,
it's not an exhaustive list. So guys, I mean, it's a lot of questions, but still, you know. So, like, long story short, don't rely on any single prediction file. And definitely don't rely on prediction file which says 90% questions repeated, 100%. No, it's not going to be true like that. Maybe if you're lucky, 30 to 40% of the questions could be repeated in tasks like FIBs or in write from dictation, answer short questions. So the name itself, it's a prediction file, right? It's not a practice file. So for practice from a portal or any good resources which you have. Prediction file is more like last minute revision. Certain tasks like answer short questions and reorder paragraphs, you know, you can definitely benefit from the prediction files.
Also, they do not they do not make you sit in the exam environment, right? It's just a PDF. Right? So that's that.
Alright guys, so thank you very much. Hope we were helpful to you. And we'll see you back on Thursday. So Sam, before we end, just let the viewers know which is the next task which you're going to take.
Okay, so the next task is the second task in PTE speaking, which is repeat sentence. A very important task. Okay, I'll say the prox marking. You get 32 marks in speaking, a lot of marks, and you get approximately 20 marks in listening, a lot of marks, right? So we'll be back on Thursday with repeat sentence. Okay, have your questions ready, or you can comment down below, and we'll have the links to our YouTube channel, to our Facebook. You are already on Facebook,
and we'll also try to come up with the 10 or 15 most difficult repeat sentences for this year 2022, and we'll try to do a live demo in front of you so you guys know what to do in case if you forget words, etc, etc.
God help us all.
Right? Alright, so thank you so much, Sam. Thank you for your time, and thank you, viewers. We'll see you again very soon on Thursday. Thank you. Have a good day. See you.
I didn't talk in Punjabi, so 𝐷𝐶𝐸𝐴 सारिआं नूं चंगा. Right? Thank you guys. See ya.